Alright, hey everyone, I have bought a camera. And today I want to talk about photography and like exactly how I arrived at buying a camera, the journey that I took because it was quite a pain, why exactly I picked this one. Maybe we'll combine the whole thing into one go, or maybe I will slice it up later. We shall see. I have some notes, by the way, in two different notebooks, so if you see me glancing down, it's because I have the notes. I wanted to talk about photography first. Photography has been one of those things that like always fascinated me when I was younger. Ever since, I don't know, like 8-ish years ago, I started watching Peter McKinnon. I think many people relate to like getting into photography through him. You know, he was like such a charismatic, such an intense guy, and like he loves photography so much, and like that's really like infectious. You know, if you are receptive to this kind of stuff, he will get you into it. So, you know, I was sitting at home binging all his videos about like photography and like composition and like his vlogs and learning about the technicalities of photography. And like I learned about like photo settings and shooting manual and exposure triangle and like aperture, ISO, shutter speed, all of that without having a camera. When you are like, I don't know, 16, spending 400, 500, 600 euros on a camera, that's a big expense. So I wanted to make sure that like it's here to stay. So I wanted to, you know, like try my hands at photography without having to spend, you know, like 500 bucks. And like, you know, my family also had like an old Fuji DG cam or something like that. It didn't work. I was so sad about it. It was broken. Like the mount and the sensor was cracked or something like that. So it didn't take pictures, which was very sad because then I was still there, you know, like I wanted to take pictures, but I couldn't really do that. And, you know, like, of course, everyone keeps saying, oh yeah, but you have a phone, you know, like, oh yeah, here is just the iPhone 11. You have two cameras, not even just one, you know, like should be fine. Not exactly, because like my impression is that in order to really get into photography, you need to like you need to be very intentional with the pictures you take. And like I think it's very hard to do with the phone. You know, like of course, if you are an established photographer and you know about photography and you know composition and you know intent, like if you already have the eye for it, then you can take amazing pictures with an iPhone. You know, like it shoots great pictures, you know, like high megapixel, you can crop whatever. All the spiel, you know how nice the iPhone is. But if you are just getting into photography, it's a very like hard sell to get into photography with just an iPhone, because like the lens is fixed, you know, or like you might have the stupid ultra wide one, but like unless you are really into architecture for some reason, then you can't really like use that to learn. And like, you know, the focal length, you can't really zoom, you know, fixed aperture, all that stuff. Like you can't really learn photography. You can probably learn composition with an iPhone, but like you can't really learn photography with an iPhone. And I also, you know, like since it's so convenient, you're just like, oh yeah, you know, poop, 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 take pictures. It's, you never really like take the time to like slow down and like actually get to like look at the composition, you know, like what you are seeing. And like I don't know, it never felt really right for me. I think that's the big difference. If you want to take pictures to like create just, you know, like to take memories, to remember stuff, an iPhone is great. If you want to get into photography, you know, for the art form and like really like making the pictures, then an iPhone is not gonna carry you particularly far. Personal opinion. But then in the midst of the pandemic, I found myself looking at film cameras, analog cameras. Yeah. Also, I have a hoodie now, which is branded Kodak Gold, so kind of on brand for today. Oh yeah, actually I have the camera here. So I was looking at film. So I was looking at film cameras, and I picked up this absolute beauty. It's the Olympus Trip 35, an absolute beauty of a camera. I picked it up used for like about like 50 bucks worth of foreigns, something along those lines. And like, you know, like it was COVID, everyone was stressed. Like we met up with the guy at like a train station, and like he gave it to me, and like I took it out of the box and like wound up the shutter, like wound up the camera and then triggered the shutter. And I still remember that feeling of like just and it clicking the aperture ring, and then I just felt that pure joy, you know, like you just pick something up And it's like, it feels so right to have that in your hand. And like, I remember that sense of absolute overflowing joy the first time I felt that shutter, you know, like really click through. It was such a gratifying feeling. It's still, you know, like, I can say it brings a smile to my face to even think back about it. And then I thought, yeah, this is it, you know, like, and I can just shoot film. And that's what I did. So I shot a lot of film. I found a cute little store in Budapest with a nice old guy who was very happy and open to, you know, like develop film for me. And I remember I just walked in the store, you know, like after buying this camera on the way home, I just walked in and I was like, I just bought this camera. I know nothing about shooting film. Tell me everything. And then this amazing old guy, unfortunately his store is closed now, but he still, you know, like he still is on Facebook and gives advice to people for free. Like he's an absolute G. And like he just, you know, like walked me through it, gave me, you know, like a roll of film, like, yeah, you know, like this is the good beginner film. It was Fujifilm C200, so it was a very nice film. It like I still developed the taste for the look of that film afterward. He gave me the Fujifilm C200 film stock, taught me how to, you know, actually like load the film into it, you know, gave me a few tips, and he was like, off you go. Come back when you need it developed. And then that's what I did. And then I just carried this camera around for a long time, like took a bunch of family events, shot on it, memories, a ton of them, and I just enjoyed it so much, just having it around and like just taking pictures. And you know, like it's a rangefinder camera, so you can't really gauge focus. You know, it has zone focus. You can kind of click like, yeah, is it like 3 meters? Is it closer to 3 meters or is it closer to like a meter? Yeah, I guess, like you kind of can guess. And you know, like the aperture, it goes pretty wide, but then that means that you're gonna miss focus. So like the pictures are not great, you know, like they are not great pictures. A bunch of them missed focus, you know, a bunch of them underexposed, overexposed. I forgot to set the on the camera the sensitivity of the film, so I shot half a roll of a very expensive film later with the wrong like film sensitivity, so they were like underexposed as hell. So like it was a trial and error process, that's for sure, but it was incredibly fun, and like I loved it so much. And you know, like I thought, you know, like, okay, that's photography for me. And then I started looking around, you know, like after a year of using that, give or take, I started looking around YouTube, you know, like I started playing with the idea of doing like exactly what we are doing now, you know, like YouTube videos and whatnot. And then I really went deep in the rabbit hole of like, okay, getting the camera for YouTube. And like that was the sole purpose of a camera from that point onwards. The purpose of a camera was to make YouTube videos. And an interesting rabbit hole, you know, like the camera YouTube, if you're not familiar, is extremely deep with all kinds of reviews and recommendations and tips and tricks on like what kind of camera to buy for YouTube, lens, you know, what focal length you want, how much of this amazing blurry background you want to see, some tone, and like it's all out there. And like I wanted to learn it all. My thing was that, okay, I'm gonna just get a camera for YouTube. And then a great friend of mine from the master here moved back to China. He just asked me like, hey, I have a camera. I actually have that camera too. So he was like, yeah, I have a camera, but I don't have space for it. Do you want to buy it? And it's this old Canon. So this Canon can soon get its driver's license. I believe it's like 14, 15, 16 years old, something like that. So it's an old camera. It's also heavy as hell. It's like 1.5 kilos with the huge lens on. It extends like crazy, you know, like big, heavy, good old DSLR. Like it feels really solid in the hand. Sorry, I was looking at myself, so the camera's in a frame. So it's really heavy, but I love it. And then, you know, I bought this camera off of him for like, you know, like 2 packs of peanuts. Like he really just wanted to get rid of it. And then it kind of, you know, like rekindled my love for photography, because, you know, developing film gets very expensive. Family events are just a bit too high risk to shoot on film, to me at least, especially with that camera. You know, you don't have that much control, the focus, whatever. So I shot a lot of family events on this camera, and like not just family events, but also, you know, like going out with friends and like just carrying it around, taking some pictures of everyone having a good time. I shot a lot of pictures on this Canon, and it was pure joy. I enjoyed it so much. You know, like I was just walking around the whole day, like camera strapped to my hand. You know, like by the afternoon, my fingers would cramp because I was just like holding the 1.5 kilo brick. by the fingers. But I had such a good time, and like, you know, I love it so much. It was great. Now I could actually, you know, like learn like digital photography in the sense that like I had full control. I could shoot full manual, you know, like ISO, aperture, shutter speed, you know, whatever I wanted. Play with the depth of field, play with planes of focus, all of it. It opened up. But you know, it still didn't really resolve the YouTube, like a camera for YouTube obsession that I had. Because like I shot 2 or 3 YouTube videos on this. You can probably see them if you scroll a bit back. They look okay, you know, they look better than an iPhone on which my old videos were shot. But at the same time, you know, like it shots 1080p only. It also cuts the recording off after 30 minutes, not even, usually like 15. After 15 it kind of like dies and has to do a second clip. It doesn't always tell you when it shuts off the recording, so it's a pain in the ass. It's also very heavy, so like you need a pretty sturdy tripod to prop it up. So yeah, the Canon did not solve the camera for YouTube issue. And you know, I still did all the research about like what camera would be the best for YouTube. Within the price range I set for myself and whatnot, I kind of arrived at the XS20, the Fuji XS20, the one that I ended up getting, or a Sony A6700. But then the Pocket 3 came along. This little guy that we are filming on right now, the Pocket 3 is like 500 euros or something like that. Like, for what it can do, it's really underpriced. It can shoot much nicer video than an action cam. You know, like it actually has a focus, like an actual autofocus mechanism. It's stable, it's a gimbal, I can carry it around. And then when I saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the camera I want for YouTube. Like this setup that we are running here now is pretty decent. You know, I have like a Rode video mic Go 2 plugged into the Osmo, and then it's pretty nice. You know, like it's a good time. I used it all the time. I shot a bunch of footage with it, you know, going home to family and whatnot. Like I really enjoyed using it. It's a great piece of tech, and like it for videos, this is the perfect setup. And you know, like when I got this, I really felt like, okay, yeah, so that means that I'm not buying either the Fuji or the Sony. You know, like, yeah, the search is done. This is my YouTube camera. We can make all the videos we want. It was very interesting because I realized that I had this yearning to take photos. And like this camera, however much I love the little pocket, it cannot take pictures to save its life. You can't really point it. No, it's just not for pictures. So I couldn't really take pictures because you have, you know, like shooting film, which is really expensive and also like a bit like you don't have the control. Or you have the Canon, which is fun, but 1.5 kilos. So lugging around the Canon is too heavy, too painful. Whereas the little film one is very expensive, so I just wasn't taking pictures. That was not a good feeling. I don't know, I just really enjoy photography, you know, the art form, like all of it. Like I really enjoy. I follow a bunch of great photographers on Instagram, and like it's so inspiring to me. Having that not be part of my life was pretty sad. I realized that, okay, so even though I bought the little pocket, I do want a camera for picture. And that was a big realization for me, you know, because like I was always very scared of investing this much money into hobbies because, you know, what if they are like a fleeting thing? So, you know, like I have a tendency for hobbies, like getting really excited about hobbies and then they kind of just like disappearing. But, you know, like as I had a conversation with a friend about like photography, and like as I said it out loud, you know, I've been obsessed with photography for the past like 6 years, 8 years, something like that. And it haven't gone away. And like it wasn't just the gear, you know, because like researching gear isn't really deep rabbit hole, but like it wasn't just that, it was actually the art form that I was missing. And then like at one day I was like, okay, I want a camera for pictures, and like I actually saved up money, I can afford it, so why am I just not doing it? And then I was like, okay, I bought a camera, and that's this little guy. Woohoo! So I got this Fuji, even though, you know, like the XS20 got like marketed as the video centric little Fuji, you know, because like Fuji has like the camera line, which is the XT line, and they are like the very photography focused cameras, you know, like the retro dials on top and all that. And then Fuji has the more video centric XH line, more or less. They are like more the professional gear. And like this was marketed as the Mini XH2S, which is their very video focused camera. And then everyone's like, oh my god, this is the best, you know, like video centric Fuji and whatnot. And like I wanted for it for photo. So why did I get this one? I figured, you know, like, okay, so if you don't care about nerding about camera specs or like camera choices, feel free to skip to the next timestamp. this is nerding here. Okay, so we will kind of go by elimination. So I'm not really into editing pictures. So, like I know, cardinal sin, I shoot JPEGs, or I only shoot RAWs when the conditions are so bad that I know I will have to play with them. Like when I shoot something at the uni's chapel, it's like the color, the white balance gets messed up by the beamer and the lights and everything, and I know that it just needs the raw files. I will have to adjust everything in post. So then I shoot raw. But just when I'm, like I go on a date with my girlfriend or just like go out to shoot, I don't shoot raw. I don't want to spend hours editing. It's just like, it's not really my thing. So I wanted a camera that can shoot like nice JPEGs. Like all cameras can shoot nice JPEGs, of course, but like this is kind of where I dropped the Sony a6700, because the a6000 series is amazing cameras. I have a friend who basically like built a business as an event photographer on an a6400, I think, and like they are amazing cameras, but like I don't really like the colors that Sony produces. Like if you are editing your pictures, amazing, like they super light, super nice, yeah, everything. But like I just don't really like the default Sony colors, so that's kind of why I got rid of the a6700 as an option. Okay, so I also looked at that, it's for pictures, so I want to have an EVF, and like so that rules out the Sony ZV-E10, which is super cheap. Like that you can get the camera for like $600 with the lens. Like it's really cheap, but it has no EVF. So EVF, electronic viewfinder. So like it has no EVF, so that's out. Nikon Z30 also has no EVF, so that's also out. That's about it. Oh yeah, so like the Fuji X-E line also outdoor with no EVF. I also wanted to have a grip, because I have pretty big hands. So, like pinching a camera like this little guy is kind of alright when you have like a very light, very small lens. But the moment you want to get into like bigger lenses, I need a grip on the camera. This is the little grip, and then it needs the grip. So that meant that I can't really go for an X-T4, which is the Fuji's photocentric previous generation camera, which is about the same price, or an X-T30 Mark II, because I know you can get like a grip extension on them or whatnot, but it's not going to be like a nice deep grip. And like I just got used to with the Canon, like Canons have huge grips and like they are very comfortable to hold. So I wanted the grip, and I wanted to go crop sensor. I didn't want full frame. First of all, I don't really need it, like I don't need that much bokeh or anything. The glass is so heavy. Full frame glass is mad heavy. But I also didn't want to go micro 4/3. That kind of led my way to APS-C. The Canon is also APS-C, so it's kind of fine. So that kind of ruled out Olympus cameras like as a whole concept, and most Panasonic too, because they either go micro 4/3 or full frame, and I don't want to do with any of them. Then, with process of elimination, we kind of arrive at this little guy. Which is a bit funny, but yeah, it's pretty great. Also, an extra bonus, it's Fuji, so it's like nice hipster. I like the look of the Olympus a lot, like I like the retro look of it, and like I feel like this Fuji camera is probably the best looking Fuji. The big thing here is film simulation. Oh, I love that so much. I could spend an entire video, and I probably will, talking about film simulations, because like it combines my joy of shooting film with digital freedom. Absolutely amazing. So one other thing is why this lens. It's largely because I'm cheap. So this little camera, like this, it comes with the camera. It was like €100 extra to get this lens. It's like power zoom, like 3.5 to 5.6 aperture. So like it's not mind-blowing, all plastic, but it's very light. It's like 100 grams or something. It's really, really light, and it was also very cheap. So I figured, okay, I would just buy the kit. I can go out and shoot, and then once I put some mileage through the camera, I can kind of like make a more educated choice. And like I already shot like, I don't know, a few thousand pictures on this camera, and like I already know that I want like a more telephoto end for the next. So I'm pretty happy that I didn't jump for like a wide angle expensive lens. I want like a bit more of a reach for the kind of photos I need to take. So yeah, that's kind of why I got this little stack. All right, so what is next after buying this camera to take pictures? What you can expect is I want to, you know, like kind of document, you know, obviously this YouTube channel is about like documenting what I'm about, and like the PhD is a big part of that, so that's definitely not going anywhere. But at the same time, I kind of want to document my journey with photography too, because it's very important to me. So that's kind of what you can expect: a few photo vlogs, maybe, you know, like going out with a specific theme in mind, and then a little vlog, maybe some pictures over it, something along those lines. I really want to get into adapted old lenses. I grown to love character over sharpness on lenses. You know, like this lens, it's pretty sharp. You know, like it's a nice lens. You know, like it's a good piece, but like it has a certain character, and it's like not clinically sharp. You know, it's not this like corner sharpness kind of lens. It's like it has a vibe to it, and like I learned that old vintage lenses really do that, and I also learned that you can adapt them pretty easily to modern mirrorless bodies. So you can expect me getting into old vintage glass. You know, like maybe I can dig out my dad's old Zenith, maybe get some M42 old Soviet lenses on the little Fuji, see what we can do with that. So that's gonna be really fun. Yeah, but in general, I kind of just want to, you know, like document my journey with photography and like really show what I'm about. Yeah, so that's about the plans for the future. I am so delighted by this little camera. You have absolutely no idea. I carry it everywhere. I cherish it. I just like, when I bought it, I killed the entire battery just fiddling with the menu settings. I'm obsessed with this camera, and like I'm so happy, you know, to be engaging with like that part of my life again, and like really like engaging with that creative spirit of like going out to take some pictures. It's great. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.